Hi, my name is Stefan de Spiegelere and I'm a senior scientist at the De Hague Center for Strategic Studies. On behalf of the entire team that's been working on this project, I'm delighted to welcome you to this online workspace that we've set up to conduct an interactive policy analysis on the topic of missile defense. Now, many of you are probably aware that we're running a fairly sizable security foresight program at HCSS, in which we try to anticipate various risks and threats against the Netherlands over the years to come. Now, we've already looked at geographical topics such as the future of Russia, the future of the Indian Ocean. We've also looked at a number of functional issues, such as technological issues especially, such as the future of nanotechnology, or of social networking, or of biometrics, and what those all mean for national security. But we thought it was particularly useful and timely to devote a special exercise to the topic of missile defense. This is a topic that has ebbed and waned in importance for the past few decades, based on changing threat assessments, technological breakthroughs or also disappointments, changing politics, both within individual countries and across the alliance, and also outside of the alliance, a number of legal aspects, especially arms control, changing financial realities. But in November of last year, of 2010, NATO took an important decision on missile defense that we think warrants some additional attention in the Netherlands. The decision that was made, of course, was the idea that NATO should expand its focus on missile defense from a primary focus on protecting the troops in theaters toward also protecting the various national homelands and the populations that live on those homelands. That's an expansion of the scope of missile defense within NATO that we feel in many European countries has not really received the attention that it probably merits. Many of us feel that these are decisions that are made above our heads. Even the policy communities have that feeling. But we strongly feel that on every topic like that, we also have to do our own homework. The Netherlands might be a small country, but that does not dissolve it from the obligation to take a hard look at what some of those topics mean for the Netherlands in specific. And that's what we're really trying to do with this particular exercise. Now, the purpose of this video is that I'm just going to walk you through the various steps that we've set up to generate some new insights, hopefully, into what this might also mean for the Netherlands. And it should not take more than 10 minutes, this entire video. So let us then focus on the main deliverables that we're trying to produce in this exercise. And there are essentially two of them. And they're both quite visual, in line with the focus that we have within HCSS on very visual products, or increasingly visual products. The first product is essentially a risk diagram, in which we're trying to position missile threats with respect to their likelihood of occurring in the Netherlands, not in general, but in the Netherlands, and secondly also with respect to their impact that they might have on the Netherlands again. A fairly standard approach to risk assessment, but one that is not usually done as rigorously as it probably could be. That's the first particular deliverable. The second deliverable takes us a step further and tries to look at what options, if those are the risks that the Netherlands might confront with various likelihoods or impacts. But if those are the threats, what are the options, the policy options that this country has to deal with them? So we'll generate a list of options, as you see on the vertical axis of the matrix that you see here. And then we will also assess those on the basis of a number of different criteria, which we will ask you to generate. So those criteria could be things such as how expensive is it, how effective is it in the short term, in the longer term, how much political acceptance might there be for various options within the Netherlands. So we'll essentially ask you to generate a list of options and a list of criteria, and then to vote on those in those cells. So two deliverables: risk assessment and policy analysis. There are, of course, many studies on missile defense, but the main idea behind this particular exercise is that we want to look at the big picture. And we want to try to put missile defense in the broader national security picture for the Netherlands, and also to look at the specific policy options that we might have to deal with those particular issues. In many ways, this is just regular policy analysis, a sort of more rigorous risk assessment and a more systematic form of policy analysis than we usually do. But we feel it's important that we move the field in that particular direction. And the two, I think, most innovative parts of this particular project are A, that we're trying to do it with a much larger and broader group of stakeholders. We have not just invited the usual suspects, both military, non-military, defense, economic interest, but also some of the broader communities that might be interested in these types of topics. And we will see more when we move on into this project. And the second innovative part of this particular project is that we're trying to do this in a collaborative way and also online. We sometimes run similar exercises on different topics in-house at HCSS, but we always find it very difficult to get people together in the room at the same time. And that's why we decided to essentially run this experiment with a much larger group and also to do it online, therefore hopefully making a broader discussion possible. So that's the main idea of this particular exercise. Now the steps we're going to walk you through are, first of all, on the issue of risk assessment, is we're going to ask you to walk through 3 sub-steps. First is to generate the scenarios. We'll brainstorm all together in a forum, as you see on the right top-hand side of this slide. So you will be invited to add various ideas, which will then cluster and will allow you to vote on the list of ideas that you will generate. And the voting will be done in accordance to the number of scenarios that you feel are useful or are representative of the broader set of scenarios that are out there and that you want to carry on in the next stages of the analysis. And for the risk assessment, the next stages of the analysis will be A, a closer look at the likelihood of those scenarios occurring, and B, an analysis of their impact. We will give you a set of criteria on the basis of which you can gauge the impact of the various scenarios, and you will be then asked to vote on every individual criterion for every individual scenario that we have finally retained in our list. And that will lead to the diagram that you see on the bottom there. For the second part, the policy analysis, again, there are a number of steps that we'll take you through. The blue ones are the ones that we've already done on the top there, so we've defined the topic and we've also identified the stakeholders. But I would like to draw your attention to the 3 red parts of the chevron chart, which is first of all to construct a policy analysis alternatives, which we will ask you once again to make a list of, to cluster them and then to vote on them. And we'll also ask you to do the same thing for the list of criteria that we can apply to those various policy alternatives. That will then yield both the vertical axis and the horizontal axis of the matrix, which I already presented to you. And you will then be asked to vote on every individual cell. And this will then give us an overview of the relative pros and cons of the options with respect to individual criteria. So certain options might score very well on certain criteria and more poorly on others. But that's essentially what the picture will generate. And that will then allow us to present the findings to the Dutch public opinion in a publication that we will do. We have structured this exercise in such a way so as to minimize the amount of time that you will have to spend on it. So we will have 5 rounds of interactions with you. There will always be 1 week between the different rounds of interaction, and you should not have to spend more than 15 or 20 minutes in the weeks that you will be asked to participate. So for this particular week, for instance, we have 2 questions that we will ask you, and you see them right here on the left side of this diagram. So we'll ask you to vote on the overall likelihood as you see it of a missile attack occurring against the Netherlands, and we'll also ask you to provide the first inputs into the list of scenarios that we will elicit with you. This will give you a chance already to play with the system, both in terms of the brainstorming function, the generating the list, and in terms of the voting option of the system. It's a fairly intuitive and user-friendly system, as you will find out in a few minutes. So this should really not be a very large investment of your time. And we also hope that you see this as an opportunity. This might prove to be a quite instructional and potentially even enjoyable exercise for the next few weeks. And we're certainly looking forward to your inputs. So let me not waste any more of your time, but let me just invite you to move on to the next stage in which you will be allowed to participate in the actual online system. And we're really looking forward to the first results coming in over the next few days. Again, the best of luck, and thank you very much for participating in this, because we can obviously not do this without you. Thank you.